Lauren had shown hundreds of properties in her 5 years as a luxury real estate agent. She'd mastered the art of the showing, highlighting features without being pushy, reading clients to understand what they truly wanted, closing deals with a combination of charm and strategic information delivery. But standing in the lobby of the Meridian Tower waiting for her 3 p.m. appointment, Lauren felt unusually nervous. The client had contacted her agency directly, requesting to see the penthouse, a $4.5 million property that had been on the market for 6 months. Most agents would have jumped at the opportunity. But something about the inquiry had been unusual. No preliminary questions about square footage or amenities. No request for photos beyond what was listed online. Just a simple message. I'd like to see the Meridian penthouse. Thursday, 3 p.m. Please confirm the showing. The message had been signed simply S. Moretti, with a phone number and email that revealed nothing about who he was or what he did for a living that would make a $4.5 million purchase feasible. Lauren's boss had run a background check, standard procedure for high-value properties. Sebastian Moretti, age 34, owned a private security consulting firm with an impressive client list and even more impressive financial standing. No criminal record, excellent credit, assets that made the penthouse purchase easily manageable. On paper, he was the ideal client. But something about the sparse information and the direct approach made Lauren cautious in ways she couldn't articulate. The elevator chimed. Lauren straightened her blazer, put on her professional smile, and prepared to meet Sebastian Moretti. The man who stepped into the lobby made Lauren's breath catch in a way that was entirely unprofessional. He was tall, probably 6'2" or 6'3", with dark hair and features that would have been handsome even without the air of controlled power he carried. He wore an expensive suit that fit perfectly, moved with a grace that suggested either military training or martial arts discipline, and had dark eyes that fixed on Lauren with an intensity that made her feel suddenly, acutely visible. Mr. Moretti? Lauren extended her hand, keeping her voice professionally warm. I'm Lauren Chen, thank you for coming. Sebastian, he corrected, his voice low and controlled as he shook her hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive, lasting exactly the appropriate amount of time. Thank you for accommodating the showing on short notice. Of course. The Meridian penthouse is an exceptional property. I think you'll be impressed. Lauren gestured toward the elevator. Shall we? They rode up in silence. Lauren tried to fill the quiet with her standard elevator pitch, building amenities, neighborhood advantages, recent comparable sales in the area. Sebastian listened without interrupting, but Lauren had the distinct impression he wasn't actually hearing her words. He was watching her face, studying her with an attention that felt both professional and personal in ways she couldn't separate. Have you been looking at properties long? Lauren asked, trying to break the intensity of his observation. No, this is the first one I'm viewing. Sebastian's eyes never left her face. Your agency came highly recommended. We do pride ourselves on excellent service and market knowledge. Lauren felt heat creep up her neck under his scrutiny. Can I ask what drew you to this particular property? It's been on the market for a while, so most serious buyers have already viewed it. I was waiting for the right agent to show it to me, Sebastian said simply. Lauren's stomach flipped at the implication. I'm sorry. The property is impressive from the listing, but I prefer to work with agents who understand both real estate and people. You have a reputation for both. Sebastian's expression was unreadable. That matters to me. The elevator doors opened before Lauren could respond. She stepped into the penthouse foyer, using the moment to collect herself. Sebastian Moretti was either very direct about his business preferences, or he was flirting with her. She couldn't tell which, and that uncertainty made her nervous. Welcome to the Meridian penthouse, Lauren said, shifting into full professional mode. 4,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, floor-to-ceiling windows with panoramic city views. The kitchen was renovated last year with top-of-the-line appliances, and the primary suite includes a spa-like bathroom and walk-in closet system. She walked through the space, highlighting features with practiced efficiency. Sebastian followed at a slight distance, and Lauren could feel his attention on her constantly. Not on the marble countertops or the custom cabinetry or the spectacular views. On her, The living area is perfect for entertaining, Lauren continued, determined to ignore the weight of his gaze. The open floor plan creates flow, and the balcony extends the living space outdoors. It's truly one of the premier properties in the building. You're very good at this, Sebastian observed. His voice was quiet but carried clearly across the open space. Thank you. I've been doing it for 5 years. Lauren moved toward the primary bedroom, Sebastian following. The primary suite is exceptionally spacious. With Lauren, Sebastian's voice stopped her mid-sentence. Can I ask you something? She turned to face him, professional mask firmly in place. Of course. Why are you nervous? He tilted his head slightly, studying her. You've shown hundreds of properties, probably dozens at this price point. But something about this showing makes you uncomfortable. Why? Lauren felt her heart rate increase. I'm not nervous. I'm simply being thorough in my presentation. You're nervous, Sebastian said with certainty. I can see it in the way you're holding yourself. The slight elevation in your speech pace. The fact that you haven't made direct eye contact with me for more than a second at a time since we entered the apartment. Are you analyzing me instead of viewing the property, Mr. Moretti? Lauren kept her voice professional despite the accusation. Sebastian. And yes, he moved closer, not crowding her but definitely reducing the distance between them. Because the property is impressive but ultimately just an apartment. You, on the other hand, are far more interesting. Lauren should have shut this down immediately. Should have reminded him that she was his real estate agent, that this was a professional showing, that his comments were inappropriate regardless of how attractive she found him. Instead, she heard herself say, I'm here to show you real estate, not to be interesting. Can't you be both? Sebastian's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile, but something warmer than his previous expression. I apologize if I'm making you uncomfortable. That's not my intention. But I believe in being honest about what I'm actually interested in. And what are you interested in? Lauren regretted the question immediately, but it was too late to take it back. Currently? Understanding why a successful real estate agent who deals with high-value clients regularly would be nervous showing a property to someone who's been nothing but professional and polite. Sebastian's dark eyes held hers. And wondering if that nervousness is caution or if it's something else. Such as... Lauren's voice was steadier than she felt. Recognition. Chemistry. The kind of immediate attraction that's rare enough to be noteworthy when it happens. Sebastian paused. But perhaps I'm wrong, and you're simply being cautious with a client who's being unusually direct. If so, I apologize and we continue the showing in a purely professional capacity. Lauren stared at him, processing what he was suggesting. He was right. There was attraction, immediate and intense, and completely inappropriate given their current context. But acknowledging it would be crossing a professional line she'd never crossed before. Mr. Moretti. Sebastian. Lauren took a breath. You're a potential client viewing a $4.5 million property. I'm your real estate agent. Whatever personal feelings might or might not exist, they're not relevant to this transaction. So let's focus on the property, and if you're genuinely interested, we can discuss next steps. Fair enough. Sebastian stepped back, giving her space. Show me the rest of the apartment. I promise to focus on the real estate. Lauren continued the tour, and true to his word, Sebastian asked thoughtful questions about the property, maintenance fees, building management, recent assessments, neighborhood development plans. He was clearly intelligent and financially savvy, the kind of client any agent would want to work with. But underneath the professional questions, Lauren could still feel his attention on her. The way his eyes tracked her movements, the slight smile when she made particularly good sales points, the controlled stillness when she got close enough to point out features. He was being professional, but the attraction was still there, humming under the surface of their interaction. When they finished the tour, standing back in the main living area with the city spread out below them, Sebastian said, It's an impressive property. But I have a question before I make any decisions. Of course, what would you like to know? Would you have dinner with me? Sebastian asked directly. Not as agent and client. As two people who felt immediate attraction and are both adult enough to acknowledge it and see where it might lead. Lauren's professional instincts screamed that this was inappropriate. But another part of her, the part that had been hyper-aware of Sebastian for the entire showing, that had felt the chemistry he was acknowledging, that was tired of always being professional and never taking risks, wanted to say yes. That would be a conflict of interest, she said carefully. I can't date a client. Then I won't buy the property. Sebastian's voice was matter of fact. Problem solved. I'm not your client, just someone who used a property viewing as an excuse to meet you properly. You're not interested in the apartment? Lauren felt disappointed despite herself. I'm very interested in the apartment. It's exactly what I've been looking for. But I'm more interested in you. Sebastian pulled out his phone, typed something, and showed her the screen. I'm prepared to make a full-price cash offer with no contingencies and a 30-day close. That will make your agency very happy and earn you a substantial commission. But I'll only do that if you agree to have dinner with me first. Lauren stared at the pre-filled offer form on his phone. You're bribing me with a real estate commission to go on a date with you? I'm offering a win scenario. You get a significant sale that will make your boss very happy and boost your professional standing. I get the apartment I want and the chance to get to know someone I find extraordinary. Everyone wins. Sebastian's expression was calm. Unless you're genuinely not interested, in which case I apologize for the pressure and will withdraw the offer entirely. This is the most unusual closing strategy I've ever encountered, Lauren said. I'm not a usual person. Sebastian smiled. A real smile that transformed his face. So, dinner? One evening where we're just two people getting to know each other, no professional obligations complicating things? Lauren knew she should say no. Should maintain professional boundaries, focus on the sale, keep her personal and work lives separate like she always had. But standing in this beautiful apartment with a man who looked at her like she was infinitely more interesting than multi-million-dollar real estate, Lauren found herself wanting to take the risk. One dinner, she heard herself say. After the sale closes, not before. I won't compromise the transaction with personal involvement. After the sale closes? Sebastian agreed. Does that mean you're accepting my offer? If you're serious about it, yes. But I need you to understand that if dinner doesn't go well, you're still committed to the purchase. I won't have you backing out because we discover we're not compatible. Fair terms. Sebastian extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Lauren shook his hand, feeling the warmth of his touch and the certainty that she'd just agreed to something that would change her life in ways she couldn't predict. We have a deal. I'll send the formal offer paperwork to you this afternoon. Excellent. Sebastian held her hand a moment longer than necessary before releasing it. And Lauren, thank you for taking the risk. I promise to make the dinner worth your while. You better, Lauren said, trying to sound stern despite the butterflies in her stomach. Because I'm risking my professional reputation on the theory that you're worth getting to know. I am, Sebastian said with quiet confidence. And I suspect you are too. That's why I'm willing to buy an apartment just to have the excuse to find out. He left shortly after, and Lauren stood alone in the penthouse trying to process what had just happened. She'd agreed to date a client sort of after the sale closed, so technically not a client anymore, but still a massive breach of her usual professional protocols. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for the showing. Send the paperwork whenever you're ready. I'm looking forward to both the apartment and the dinner. Sebastian. Lauren saved his number and typed back. Paperwork coming this afternoon. And you better hope you're as interesting over dinner as you were during the showing, Mr. Moretti. His response was immediate. I promise I am. And please call me Sebastian. We're going to be seeing a lot of each other once I move into that penthouse. Lauren smiled despite her nervousness and got to work preparing the offer. She had a feeling this sale, and whatever came after it, was going to be unlike anything she'd experienced before. And for the first time in her careful professional career, she was excited about the unknown instead of anxious about it. The sale closed in exactly 30 days, just as Sebastian had promised. Lauren had expected complications. They always happened with high-value properties. But Sebastian's offer was clean. His financing was already arranged. Cash purchase, no mortgage needed. And he handled every step of the process with efficient professionalism. They'd communicated frequently during those 30 days, emails about inspections and documents, text messages clarifying details, one phone call when a question about building regulations required immediate attention. Every interaction had been strictly professional, but Lauren could feel the undercurrent of anticipation in every exchange. They were both waiting for the dinner they'd agreed to. And as closing day approached, Lauren's nervousness increased proportionally. "You're distracted," her colleague Marcus observed on the morning of the closing. "This is your biggest sale of the year, and you look like you're going to a funeral instead of a celebration." "I'm not distracted," Lauren lied. "Just making sure everything is perfect for the closing." "Uh-huh." Marcus gave her a knowing look. "This wouldn't have anything to do with your mysterious buyer being incredibly attractive and single, would it?" "How do you know he's single?" "Because I checked. Everyone in the office checked." "A hot, rich guy buying a penthouse alone?" "We all needed to know his relationship status." Marcus grinned. "And the fact that you immediately asked about it tells me everything I need to know." Lauren felt heat creep up her neck. "My personal interest in the client is irrelevant to the transaction, but not irrelevant to what happens after the transaction." Marcus's grin widened. "Oh my God, you're going on a date with him, aren't you?" "We're having dinner after the sale closes." As two people, not as agent and client. Lauren heard the defensiveness in her own voice. "You sly thing. I didn't know you had it in you to mix business with pleasure." "I'm not mixing them. I waited until the sale closed specifically to avoid any conflict of interest." Lauren grabbed her files for the closing meeting. "And if you breathe a word of this to anyone in the office, I will make your life miserable." "My lips are sealed." Marcus made a zipping motion. "But for the record, good for you. You work too hard and date too little. A hot, rich security consultant who looks at you like you're the most interesting person in the room. That's worth bending your rules for." The closing took place at the title company's office. Lauren arrived early to review documents one final time. When Sebastian walked in exactly on time, wearing another impeccably tailored suit, Lauren felt her breath catch the same way it had during their first meeting. "Hello, Lauren," he said, his voice warm. "Ready to make this official?" "Ready when you are." Lauren gestured to the conference table where documents were laid out. "This shouldn't take long." Everything is in order. The closing proceeded smoothly. Sebastian signed documents with practiced efficiency, asking occasional clarifying questions that showed he'd read everything thoroughly. Lauren guided him through the process, maintaining professional demeanor despite her awareness of his attention on her whenever she spoke. When they reached the final documents, the title company representative smiled and said, "Congratulations, Mr. Moretti. You're now the proud owner of a beautiful penthouse." "Thank you." Sebastian accepted the keys, then turned to Lauren. "And thank you for handling this sale so professionally. Your agency is fortunate to have you." "Thank you." "I'm glad we could facilitate the purchase smoothly." Lauren kept her voice professional despite the butterflies in her stomach. They were done. The sale was closed. Which meant... "So," Sebastian said once they'd exited the title company and were standing on the sidewalk, "I believe we had an arrangement?" "We did." Lauren took a breath. "Dinner, to see if you're as interesting over a meal as you were during property viewings and email exchanges." "Tonight?" Sebastian's directness was as unnerving as always. "Unless you need more time." "Tonight works." Lauren heard herself agreeing before she could second-guess. "Where and when?" "There's a restaurant called Lucien's. French cuisine, intimate atmosphere, excellent wine list. They have a private table I've reserved for 8 p.m. Sebastian met her eyes. "If you're comfortable with that level of privacy for a first date, assuming you're not a serial killer, that sounds perfect." "I'm not a serial killer." Sebastian's mouth curved slightly. "Though I suppose that's exactly what a serial killer would say." "Would a background check make you more comfortable?" "I'm happy to provide references." Lauren laughed despite her nerves. "That won't be necessary. My agency already ran a background check before I showed you the property. You came back clean. Thorough." "I appreciate that." Sebastian pulled out his phone. "Can I send a car for you? Or would you prefer to meet at the restaurant?" "I'll meet you there," Lauren decided. I like having my own transportation on first dates. No offense. None taken. It's a wise precaution. Sebastian typed something into his phone. I'll see you at 8 then. And Lauren, thank you for taking this risk with me. I don't think you'll regret it. I hope not, Lauren said honestly. Because if this goes badly, I'll have sacrificed my professional principles for a disappointing dinner. It won't be disappointing. Sebastian's voice carried absolute certainty. I promise you that. He left, and Lauren spent the rest of the day in a state of nervous anticipation. She told herself it was just dinner with someone who'd happened to buy an apartment from her. Nothing more complicated than that. But she knew she was lying. There was something about Sebastian Moretti that went beyond simple attraction. Something in the way he looked at her like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. The directness of his communication, the controlled intensity that suggested depth she couldn't begin to imagine. At 7:30 that evening, Lauren stood in front of her closet trying to decide what to wear. Professional seemed wrong. This wasn't a business dinner. Too casual would undervalue the expensive restaurant and Sebastian's obvious effort in planning. She finally settled on a simple black dress that was elegant without being excessive, paired with heels that made her feel confident. She arrived at Lucien's exactly at 8 to find Sebastian already there, waiting in the restaurant's small lobby. He'd changed from his suit to dark slacks and a button-down shirt that somehow looked even better than the formal wear. You look beautiful, he said simply when he saw her. Thank you. You look very nice yourself. Lauren felt suddenly shy in ways she hadn't anticipated. Our table is ready. Sebastian gestured for her to precede him. I took the liberty of ordering wine. I hope that's acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. Lauren followed the matter did to a secluded table in a corner of the restaurant, exactly as private as Sebastian had suggested. The lighting was low, the ambiance intimate, and the table positioning ensured they wouldn't be overheard or interrupted frequently. Once they were seated and wine had been poured, Sebastian raised his glass. To successful real estate transactions and the interesting people we meet through them. Lauren clinked her glass against his. To taking risks that might actually pay off. They sipped wine in momentary silence, both processing the shift from professional interaction to personal date. Lauren found herself studying Sebastian more openly than she'd allowed herself to during the property showing. He was attractive, yes, but there was something more, an intensity in his dark eyes, a controlled stillness in the way he held himself, a sense that he was always observing and analyzing everything around him. So, Lauren said, breaking the silence. I know you're a security consultant, but what does that actually mean day to day? I provide protection and risk management for people who need discretion and expertise. Sebastian's voice was measured. Sometimes that's physical security for high-profile individuals. Sometimes it's threat assessment and prevention. Sometimes it's more complicated situations that require specialized knowledge. That sounds deliberately vague. It is. Sebastian smiled slightly. Client confidentiality is essential to my work. But I can tell you that I help people navigate dangerous situations, prevent threats before they materialize, and provide peace of mind to those who need it. The specifics vary, but the goal is always the same, keeping people safe. Is it dangerous? Your work? Sometimes. But I'm very good at what I do, and I have a talented team backing me up. The risk is manageable. Sebastian paused. Does that concern you? The nature of my work? Lauren considered this honestly. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it to know whether I should be concerned. But you seem competent and careful, so I'm provisionally accepting that you know what you're doing. Fair assessment. Sebastian leaned forward slightly. What about you? 5 years as a luxury real estate agent. That suggests either natural talent or tremendous determination. Which is it? Both probably. Lauren found herself relaxing as the conversation shifted to her. I started in real estate because I loved the idea of helping people find homes. But I specialized in luxury properties because that's where the real challenge is. Clients are more demanding, transactions are more complex, and the stakes are higher. It keeps me sharp, and you're successful at it. The sale we just closed will give you a substantial commission and boost your standing in the agency. Sebastian's voice held something like admiration. That takes skill and strategic thinking. It also takes working 80-hour weeks and sacrificing most of my personal life for the job. Lauren heard the bitterness in her own voice and tried to soften it. Which is why I'm usually terrible at dating. Too busy, too tired, too focused on work to put energy into relationships. But you made an exception for me. It wasn't a question. I did. Lauren met his eyes directly. Because you were interesting enough to be worth the risk. And because I'm tired of always being responsible and careful and professional. Sometimes taking a chance is better than playing it safe. I'm glad you think so. Sebastian's expression was warm. For what it's worth, I don't date much either. My work is demanding and requires discretion, which makes normal relationships complicated. Most people don't understand the hours or the secrecy or the occasional danger. So, why me? Lauren asked. You could have bought that apartment without the dinner arrangement. Could have pursued someone whose professional life doesn't intersect with yours. Why take this particular risk? Sebastian was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. Because when you walked me through that penthouse, I saw someone competent and intelligent and genuinely passionate about her work. Someone strong and independent who didn't seem impressed by money or power or mystery. Someone I wanted to know better regardless of professional complications. He paused, his dark eyes intent on her face. And because there was chemistry. Immediate and undeniable. The kind that's rare enough to be worth pursuing, even when circumstances make it inadvisable. Lauren felt warmth spread through her chest at his honesty. There was chemistry, she admitted. Is chemistry. I felt it during the showing and every time we've communicated since. It's why I've been nervous about tonight. Wanting it to work out more than I probably should for a first date with someone I barely know. So let's fix that. Let's get to know each other properly. Sebastian raised his wine glass again. No more professional obligations or real estate transactions or careful professional distance. Just two people seeing if the chemistry translates into actual compatibility. They spent the next 3 hours doing exactly that. Conversation flowed easily once they'd acknowledged the attraction and moved past the awkwardness of professional to personal transition. Lauren learned that Sebastian had a younger sister he was protective of, that his security business grew from personal experience with threats against people he cared about, that he read extensively and had a passion for classical music she wouldn't have predicted. Sebastian learned that Lauren had put herself through college and real estate training, that she sent money home to her parents every month, that she played piano when she had time, which was rarely, and that she'd been single for 2 years because work had consumed all her energy. The food was excellent, though Lauren barely noticed it. She was too focused on Sebastian, the way he listened with complete attention, the thoughtful questions he asked, the rare smiles that transformed his usually controlled expression. He was exactly as interesting over dinner as he'd been during their professional interactions, maybe more so now that the context allowed for genuine personal connection. When the meal finally ended and they stood to leave, Lauren felt genuine reluctance. This was wonderful. Thank you for dinner and for being exactly as interesting as you promised. Thank you for taking the risk. Sebastian moved closer as they exited the restaurant. Can I walk you to your car? That would be nice. They walked in comfortable silence through the restaurant's parking area. When they reached Lauren's car, Sebastian said, I'd like to see you again. Soon, if you're interested. Lauren unlocked her car but didn't get in yet. When? This weekend? Dinner again, or something else if you prefer. A concert, maybe, or just a walk if you'd rather something less formal. A concert sounds perfect. Text me details and I'll let you know if I can make it work with my schedule. I will. Sebastian moved closer, and Lauren's breath caught. Can I kiss you goodnight? Or is that moving too fast? You can kiss me, Lauren heard herself say. Sebastian cupped her face gently, his touch careful and reverent. Then he kissed her, softly at first, just a brush of lips, before deepening when Lauren responded. It was exactly right. Intense but controlled, passionate but respectful. Perfect for a first kiss that acknowledged everything building between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing harder, Sebastian rested his forehead against hers. Worth the risk? Definitely worth the risk, Lauren confirmed. Though now I'm going to spend the next few days wondering if that chemistry was a fluke or if it's actually as strong as it feels. It's not a fluke. Sebastian's voice was certain. But I'm happy to provide more data points to confirm that if you need them. Lauren laughed. I think I do need more data. For scientific purposes, rigorous testing is important. Sebastian smiled and kissed her once more, quick and sweet. Drive safe. Text me when you get home. I will. Lauren got into her car feeling like she was floating. Good night, Sebastian. Good night, Lauren. Thank you for an extraordinary evening. Lauren drove home, thinking about dark eyes and gentle kisses and a man who'd been interesting enough to make her break her professional rules. She texted him when she got home. Home safe. Thank you for tonight. Looking forward to the concert. His response came immediately. Thank you for giving me the chance. Sleep well and dream about possibilities. Lauren fell asleep that night thinking about exactly those possibilities, about where this thing with Sebastian might lead, about whether chemistry could translate into something lasting, about what it meant that she was already falling for someone she'd only just begun to know. It was fast and risky and potentially complicated. But it was also exciting and real and more alive than Lauren had felt in years. And that, she decided, was worth whatever risks came with it. Over the next 2 months, Lauren and Sebastian saw each other as often as their demanding schedules allowed, which turned out to be 3 or 4 times a week once they both committed to making time for the relationship. They went to concerts and art galleries, had dinners at intimate restaurants, spent quiet evenings at Sebastian's new penthouse, which he insisted on calling our first project together since Lauren had facilitated the purchase. They talked for hours about everything and nothing, learning each other's rhythms and preferences and the small details that made up complete lives. And Lauren found herself falling deeper with every date, every conversation, every moment spent in Sebastian's carefully controlled but deeply attentive presence. He was unlike anyone she'd dated before. Direct without being harsh, intense without being overwhelming, protective without being possessive. He remembered everything she told him. The names of her colleagues, her favorite foods, the cases that gave her professional anxiety. And he offered support without trying to fix problems, understanding that sometimes she just needed to be heard. You're different with him, her friend Maya observed over lunch. Lighter. Like you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders for once. He makes me feel like I don't have to, Lauren admitted. Like I can just be myself without performing professional competence all the time. It's refreshing. And the chemistry? Still there after 2 months? God, yes. Lauren felt heat creep up her neck. If anything, it's getting stronger. We've been taking things slowly, but the tension is ... excruciating? Maya supplied with a grin. Intense. We haven't single quotes T ... you know. But I think we're both ready for that step. Just waiting for the right moment when we both have time and privacy and can actually focus on each other instead of being exhausted from work. That moment came 3 days later. On a Friday night when Lauren had taken a rare weekend off and Sebastian had cleared his schedule to match hers. He'd invited her to his penthouse for dinner. The first time they'd have extended privacy without time pressure or work obligations looming. Lauren accepted with a mix of anticipation and nervousness, understanding the implicit invitation and the setup. She arrived at 7 p.m. with a bottle of wine and butterflies in her stomach. Sebastian greeted her at the door with a kiss that lasted longer than usual, his hands cupping her face with the careful intensity she'd come to recognize as his signature approach to intimacy. Hi, she said when they finally broke apart. Hi yourself. Sebastian smiled, that rare transformative expression. Come in. Dinner's almost ready. The penthouse looked different from when Lauren had first shown it. Sebastian had furnished it simply but elegantly, adding personal touches that made the space feel lived in rather than staged. Books on shelves, a piano in the corner, which Lauren made a mental note to ask about later, photographs of what she assumed was his sister. You've made it home, Lauren observed. We made it home. Sebastian corrected. You chose the property. I just furnished it. That's a generous interpretation of my role in your decorating decisions. You were the inspiration. Sebastian pulled her into the kitchen where something that smelled incredible was cooking. Without you showing me this place, I wouldn't have bought it. Therefore, you're partially responsible for how it turned out. That's twisted logic, but I'll accept it. Lauren leaned against the counter, watching him cook with the same practiced ease she'd observed during their first dinner date. "What are you making?" "Coq au vin, roasted vegetables and a salad that's more interesting than it sounds." Same menu as our first dinner at Lucien's. I wanted to recreate the experience in more comfortable surroundings. Lauren felt warmth spread through her chest at the thoughtfulness. "That's incredibly sweet. I'm a sentimental person despite the controlled exterior." Sebastian paused in his cooking to pull her closer. "And I wanted tonight to be special. No rushing, no time pressure, just us enjoying each other's company properly." "I want that too." Lauren kissed him softly. "The past 2 months have been wonderful, but I'm ready for more. More time together, more intimacy, more everything." "Me too." Sebastian's dark eyes held hers. "Which is why I want to take tonight slow. Really savor every moment instead of rushing through to the conclusion." They ate dinner with candles and wine and conversation that ranged from playful to serious to comfortable silence. After the meal, Sebastian played piano, while Lauren listened, classical pieces she half recognized, played with a kind of skill that suggested years of training and practice. "You're really good," she said when he finished a particularly complex piece. "Where did you learn?" "My mother insisted on lessons when I was young. I hated it at the time, but as an adult, I'm grateful. Playing helps me think, helps me process things when work gets complicated." Sebastian turned on the bench to face her. "Would you like to play something?" "I'm not nearly as good as you." "I don't care. I want to hear you play." Lauren settled at the piano and played something simple, a piece she'd learned in college and still remembered. Her technique was rusty, but the melody was recognizable. When she finished, Sebastian was smiling. "Beautiful," he said simply. "You're being generous. I'm being honest. You have a good ear and clear affection for the music. That matters more than technical precision." Sebastian stood and offered his hand. "Come here." Lauren let him pull her up and into his arms. They swayed slowly, even though no music was playing, just existing in each other's presence, both acknowledging without words that the evening was building towards something inevitable. "Lauren," Sebastian said quietly, "I want you to know something before we go further." "Okay, I'm falling in love with you." "Probably have been since that first property showing, but definitely am now." His voice was steady despite the weight of the admission. "This isn't casual for me. It's significant and real, and something I want to build on if you're willing." Lauren felt tears prick at her eyes. "I'm falling in love with you too. Have been for weeks, maybe longer." I kept trying to talk myself out of it, telling myself it was too fast, too intense, too risky. But I can't deny what I feel anymore. "Then don't." Sebastian kissed her forehead. "Let yourself feel it. Let yourself trust that this is real and worth pursuing despite the speed and the intensity and all the rational reasons to be cautious." "I trust you," Lauren said firmly. "And I trust this. Whatever comes next, I'm ready for it." Sebastian led her to his bedroom, simply furnished but comfortable, with the same floor-to-ceiling windows that characterized the rest of the penthouse. City lights spread out below them, creating a backdrop that was both intimate and spectacular. What happened next was slow and deliberate and exactly right. Sebastian was attentive and careful, checking in constantly, making sure Lauren was comfortable with every escalation. There was passion but also tenderness, intensity but also patience. The kind of intimate connection that came from actually caring about your partner's experience as much as your own. Afterward, lying in Sebastian's arms with the city lights flickering outside, Lauren felt more content than she could remember feeling in years. "Worth the 2-month wait?" Sebastian asked quietly. "Absolutely worth it." Lauren shifted to look at him. "Though now I'm wondering why we waited so long. Because we were building a foundation first. Making sure this was real before adding physical intimacy that would complicate everything." Sebastian's hand traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "I wanted you to know me before we got to this point. Wanted to be certain we had substance beyond just chemistry." "We definitely have substance." Lauren kissed him softly. "This isn't just physical attraction. It's real connection, real compatibility, real feelings that are significant and worth nurturing." "Yes." Sebastian pulled her closer. "Which is why I want to ask you something." "What?" Move in with me. The request was direct and immediate. I know it's fast, but we're both ready. We spend most nights together anyway, splitting time between your apartment and here. Why not consolidate? Make this officially home for both of us instead of just my place you visit frequently? Lauren's heart raced at the implications. Moving in together was a huge step, one that would signal serious commitment to everyone in their lives. But Sebastian was right. They were essentially living together already, just in a less efficient way. Yes, she heard herself say. Yes, I'll move in with you. Because you're right that we're ready, and because I want to wake up with you every morning without having to coordinate schedules or split time between apartments. Thank you. Sebastian's smile was brilliant. We'll make this space ours. Add your furniture, your books, your personal touches. Transform it from my penthouse into our home. They spent the rest of the weekend mapping out logistics, what Lauren would bring from her apartment, what they'd buy together, how they'd merge their lives practically and efficiently. It was domestic and mundane and absolutely perfect. On Sunday evening, as Lauren was getting ready to leave and pack her things for the official move, Sebastian said, I have something to tell you. About my work. Okay. Lauren sat back down, hearing the seriousness in his voice. I told you I do security consulting. That's true. But the specifics are more complicated than I've let on. Sebastian looked uncomfortable in ways she'd never seen. I provide protection for people in dangerous situations. Abuse victims fleeing violent partners. Witnesses who need to disappear before they can testify. People being threatened by powerful individuals who use the legal system's limitations against them. That sounds noble, Lauren said carefully. It's also dangerous. The people I protect are running from serious threats. Sometimes those threats spill over into my life. I've been careful to keep you separate from that world, but if we're living together, you need to know what you're signing up for. Sebastian met her eyes. I have security measures here. Cameras, access controls, people who watch for threats. It's not paranoia. It's necessary given my work. Lauren processed this. Are you saying I might be in danger by being with you? I'm saying the possibility exists, though I've been very careful to minimize it. I keep my personal and professional lives separate, use different names and identities for high-risk work, maintain security protocols that keep people I care about safe. Sebastian's voice was firm. But you deserve to know the reality before you commit to living here. Thank you for being honest. Lauren thought about what he'd revealed. Can I ask you something? Anything. Is this why you were so interested in me during that first property showing? Because you saw something in me that suggested I'd understand or accept this kind of life? No, Sebastian's answer was immediate and certain. I was interested in you because you were extraordinary and beautiful and competent. The fact that you're also strong enough to handle the complications of my work is a bonus, not the reason I pursued you. Lauren believed him. Okay, then I'm still moving in. But I expect you to keep your promise about security and separation. I won't let your work put either of us at unnecessary risk. I promise. Sebastian pulled her into his arms. Thank you for not running when I was honest about the complications. A lot of people would have. I'm not a lot of people. Lauren kissed him. And you're worth some complications. Lauren moved into Sebastian's penthouse 3 weeks later, transforming the space from his minimalist bachelor pad into their shared home. It was surprisingly easy to merge their lives. Sebastian made space for her things without hesitation, clearing closets, rearranging furniture, adding bookshelves for her collection. Lauren brought warmth and personality to the stark elegance he'd created, softening edges with plants and photographs and the comfortable clutter of someone who actually lived in a space rather than just occupying it. Her real estate colleagues were shocked when she gave notice on her apartment. You're moving in with the penthouse guy? Marcus said, disbelief evident in his voice. After 3 months of dating? Lauren, you're the most careful person I know. This is wildly out of character. I know, Lauren admitted. But it's right. We're ready. And I'm tired of always being careful and strategic about everything. Sometimes you have to take the leap. And if it doesn't work out, you've given up your apartment, merged your life with a guy you've known less than 6 months. Then I'll deal with the consequences. Lauren's voice was firm. But I don't think it won't work out. Sebastian is different. This relationship is different. I'm willing to take the risk. The first month of living together confirmed Lauren's instincts. They navigated shared space with surprising ease, both of them naturally considerate and communicative about needs and boundaries. Sebastian cooked most nights. Lauren handled grocery logistics and household organization. They split cleaning duties, coordinated schedules, and fell into comfortable routines that felt like they'd been living together for years rather than weeks. The only complications came from their work schedules. Lauren's real estate career was demanding, often requiring evening showings and weekend open houses. Sebastian's security consulting was even more unpredictable. Sometimes he'd be gone for days on protective details, unreachable except for brief text messages that confirmed he was safe. I hate when you disappear for work, Lauren admitted one evening after Sebastian had returned from a 4-day assignment he couldn't discuss. Not because I don't trust you, but because I worry. You've told me your work can be dangerous, but you never give me details. It leaves me imagining worst-case scenarios. Sebastian pulled her close on the couch. I know, and I'm sorry, but client confidentiality is absolute in my line of work. I can't share details about cases without violating trust and potentially putting people at risk. Can you at least tell me if you're in danger? Just a heads up that a particular assignment is higher risk than usual. I can do that. Sebastian kissed her forehead. And I can promise that I'm always careful, always have backup, always prioritize coming home to you over unnecessary heroics. That help? A little. Lauren settled against him. I just need to know you're taking care of yourself. Because I love you. And the idea of something happening to you is terrifying. I love you too. And I'm not going anywhere. Sebastian's voice was certain. I've got too much to live for now. It became their routine. Sebastian would warn her when assignments were particularly dangerous. Lauren would try not to panic until he returned safely. It wasn't perfect, but it was workable. 4 months into living together, Sebastian's sister Emma came to visit. Lauren had spoken with her on video calls but never met her in person. She arrived on a Friday evening, and Lauren felt immediately nervous about making a good impression. Emma was petite and vibrant, with dark hair like her brother's but warmer eyes that sparkled with humor. She hugged Lauren immediately upon arrival, then stepped back to study her face. So, you're the woman who made my brother fall in love, Emma said with a grin. I've been dying to meet you properly. I've been wanting to meet you too. Lauren felt herself relaxing. Sebastian talks about you constantly. You're clearly very important to him, and he talks about you constantly to me. It's actually kind of nauseating how smitten he is. Emma laughed at Sebastian's expression. Don't give me that look. You know it's true. They spent the weekend getting to know each other. Emma was funny and perceptive, with an artist's eye for detail that meant she noticed everything about how Sebastian and Lauren interacted. On Saturday afternoon, while Sebastian was out running errands, Emma said, Can I tell you something? Of course. Lauren set down her coffee cup, giving Emma her full attention. I've never seen my brother like this. Happy, relaxed, genuinely at peace with his life. Emma's voice was serious despite her usual playful demeanor. After what happened to me, my abusive ex, the violence, the aftermath, Sebastian became so controlled and careful. He built walls to protect himself from ever being hurt the way I was hurt. I worried he'd never let anyone close enough to matter. And now? Lauren prompted gently. Now he's different with you. The walls are still there for other people, but not for you. He's open and vulnerable and clearly so in love it's written all over his face every time he looks at you. Emma smiled. Thank you for that. For being someone safe enough that he could let his guard down. He's safe for me too, Lauren said quietly. I didn't realize how much I needed someone who understood that I'm strong, but still need support sometimes. Who doesn't try to fix my problems but just provides presence and care? Sebastian is that person. Then you're good for each other. Emma reached over and squeezed Lauren's hand. Hold on to this. Real partnerships like what you two have are rare. The visit cemented Lauren's sense that she and Sebastian were building something lasting. Emma's approval mattered to both of them, and her genuine happiness at seeing her brother in a healthy relationship was validating in ways Lauren hadn't expected. 2 weeks after Emma left, Sebastian came home from work looking troubled in ways that immediately put Lauren on alert. What's wrong? she asked, meeting him at the door. We need to talk. Sebastian's voice was serious. Something's happened with one of my cases that might affect you. Lauren's stomach dropped. Okay, tell me. They settled on the couch, and Sebastian took her hands. I've been protecting a woman from her abusive ex-husband. Very high-profile case. He's wealthy and connected, uses his resources to track her despite restraining orders and legal protections. I've kept her hidden successfully for 6 months, but yesterday he found out I'm the one protecting her. How did he find out? I'm not sure yet. But he's made threats. Not just against me, but against people I care about. He's trying to use leverage to force me to reveal her location. Sebastian's jaw tightened. I've dealt with threats before. But this one mentioned you specifically. He knows we're together, knows where you work. He's implying that if I don't cooperate, he'll come after you. Lauren felt ice spread through her veins. He threatened me? Yes, which is why I'm telling you immediately instead of trying to handle it quietly. Sebastian's voice was steady, but his eyes showed fear. I've already increased security here and at your office. But I need you to be vigilant. Don't go anywhere alone. Vary your routines. Trust your instincts if something feels wrong. Should I be scared? Lauren tried to keep her voice level. You should be careful. There's a difference. Sebastian pulled her closer. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I have resources and people who will make sure you're protected. But I need you to work with me on this. Follow security protocols. Accept the protective detail I'm assigning. Take this seriously. I will. Lauren felt anger building underneath the fear. But Sebastian? I'm furious that your work is putting me at risk. You promised you kept your professional and personal lives separate. I do. Sebastian's voice was pained. But this client is particularly resourceful and vengeful. He's broken every normal rule about how these situations work. I'm dealing with it, but it's going to take time. How much time? I don't know, days, maybe weeks. Until I can either get him arrested or convince him that threatening you will have consequences he doesn't want to face. Sebastian met her eyes. I'm so sorry, Lauren. I never wanted my work to touch you like this. I know. Lauren took a shaky breath. Okay, what do I need to do? Sebastian spent the next hour explaining security protocols, people who'd be watching her office, a car service that would drive her to showings, changes to their building's access systems. It was comprehensive and slightly overwhelming, but Lauren forced herself to pay attention to every detail. Over the next 2 weeks, Lauren lived with constant vigilance. There were men in suits she never spoke to but knew were Sebastian's security team. Her routines changed daily to prevent patterns. And Sebastian was more tense than she'd ever seen him, clearly torn between handling the professional crisis and protecting her personally. The situation resolved suddenly and completely. Sebastian came home one evening and said simply, "It's over." The ex-husband was arrested on unrelated charges that will keep him in custody for months. And the client I was protecting has been relocated successfully. The threat to you is gone. Lauren felt relief so intense it brought tears. Are you sure? I'm sure. My people have confirmed everything. You're safe. We're safe. Sebastian pulled her into his arms. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I understand if you want to reconsider living together. If this experience showed you that my work creates complications you're not willing to accept. Lauren pulled back to look at his face. Is that what you think? That I'd leave because your work got difficult? I'd understand if you did. Well, I'm not leaving. Lauren's voice was firm. Was the past 2 weeks terrifying? Yes. Do I wish your work didn't occasionally create dangerous situations? Absolutely. But I knew who you were and what you did before I moved in. I'm not going to bail the first time it gets complicated. You're extraordinary. Sebastian's voice was rough with emotion. Most people would run. Most people should run. I'm not most people. And you're worth the occasional complication. Lauren kissed him. But Sebastian? I need you to promise that if something like this happens again, you'll tell me immediately. No trying to protect me through ignorance. I'd rather know and be prepared than be blindsided. I promise. Complete honesty about threats, always. Sebastian held her tight. Thank you for staying. For not giving up on us when it would have been justified. Thank you for trusting me enough to let me stay. Lauren settled against him. We're partners, remember? That means facing the complicated stuff together, not you trying to shield me from every difficulty. They spent that evening processing the stress of the past 2 weeks, both acknowledging how the crisis had tested their relationship and been grateful they'd weathered it together. And when they went to bed that night, Lauren felt certain that they could handle whatever came next. Because they'd faced real danger and come through it stronger. Because Sebastian had prioritized her safety while respecting her agency. Because they'd communicated openly even when it was difficult. That was what real partnership looked like. Not avoiding complications, but facing them together with honesty and mutual support. 8 months after Lauren moved into Sebastian's penthouse, he proposed. Not with grand gestures or public displays, but in their living room on a quiet Sunday morning while they were drinking coffee and reading the newspaper in comfortable silence. Sebastian set down his coffee cup and said, "Lauren, will you marry me?" Lauren looked up from the real estate section, startled. "What? Will you marry me?" Sebastian repeated calmly. "I know it's not a romantic setup, no elaborate planning or perfect moment. But I've been carrying this ring for 2 weeks waiting for the right time, and I realize the right time is now. Because every moment with you is right." He pulled out a small box and opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring that was exactly Lauren's taste. "I love you. I want to build a life with you officially and permanently. I want to marry you and grow old together and face whatever complications come our way as partners. So, will you marry me?" Lauren felt tears streaming down her face. Yes, of course I'll marry you." Sebastian slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into his lap and kissed her with the kind of joy that made Lauren's chest ache. When they finally broke apart, she said, "That was the least romantic proposal I've ever heard of." "I know. Want me to try again with candles and music and a better speech?" "No." Lauren laughed through her tears. "It was perfect. Exactly us. Direct and honest and happening in our home during ordinary moments. I wouldn't change anything about it." They got married 4 months later in a small ceremony at the same art gallery where they'd attended a concert on one of their early dates. 50 people, close friends and family only. Intimate and meaningful rather than performative. Lauren's real estate colleagues were there, finally understanding why she'd broken her professional rules for Sebastian. Emma was there, tears streaming down her face as she watched her brother marry someone who made him genuinely happy. And Sebastian's team of security consultants attended, looking uncomfortable in formal wear but clearly pleased to see their boss celebrating something joyful instead of navigating crisis. During the reception, Emma gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. "To my brother, who learned that walls can protect you but they also isolate you. And to Lauren, who was brave enough to scale those walls and show him that being vulnerable with the right person is worth the risk. You're perfect for each other, and I'm honored to officially call you my sister." Sebastian's toast to Lauren was simpler. "To my wife, who walked into a property showing and changed my entire life. Thank you for seeing past the mysterious buyer to the person underneath. Thank you for taking risks when playing it safe would have been easier. Thank you for being my partner in every sense of the word. I love you more than I have words to express." They honeymooned in Italy for 2 weeks, the longest either had taken off work in years. They explored cities and countryside, ate incredible food, made love in beautiful hotels, and simply enjoyed being together without the demands of their careers pulling them in different directions. "I could get used to this," Lauren said one evening as they watched the sunset from their hotel balcony in Tuscany. "No work emergencies, no showings, no protective details. Just us existing in the moment." "We should do this more often," Sebastian agreed. "Take time for ourselves instead of always prioritizing work. Life is too short to spend all of it being professional and responsible." When they returned home, they both made changes. Lauren reduced her client load, focusing on fewer but higher value properties that allowed for better work-life balance. Sebastian turned down cases that would require extended absence or particularly high risk, delegating more to his team instead of handling everything personally. It wasn't always easy. Both of them were driven and ambitious, conditioned to say yes to every opportunity. But they were committed to prioritizing their marriage over their careers, to building a life that was about more than just professional success. A year into their marriage, they had their first serious fight. Sebastian had accepted a case without discussing it with Lauren first. A high-risk protective detail that would require him to be gone for 2 weeks with minimal communication. Lauren found out by accident when she overheard him on a phone call with his team. "You promised you'd discuss dangerous cases with me before accepting them," Lauren said that evening, anger and hurt evident in her voice. "We agreed on that after the threat situation last year." "I know, and I'm sorry. But this case is time-sensitive and the client is someone I've worked with before. I couldn't turn it down." Sebastian's voice was defensive. "You couldn't or you didn't want to." Lauren crossed her arms. "Because those are different things, Sebastian. If you couldn't discuss it due to timing, fine. But if you just decided to accept it without my input because you knew I'd object, that's a problem." Sebastian was quiet for a long moment. "You're right. I should have discussed it with you first. I made a unilateral decision about something that affects both of us, and that was wrong. So will you turn it down?" "I can't. I've already committed to the client, and backing out now would put them at risk." Sebastian looked genuinely pained. "But I can promise it won't happen again. Any future cases that are high risk or require extended absence, I'll discuss with you first before accepting. Even if it means turning down work that I'd normally take?" Lauren wanted to stay angry, but she could see his sincerity. "Okay, but Sebastian? Marriage means making decisions together, especially about things that affect both our lives. You can't go back to operating like you're single and only accountable to yourself." "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to be married after years of making all my decisions independently." Sebastian crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "Forgive me? I promise to do better." "I forgive you. But I'm holding you to that promise about discussing cases first." Lauren settled against him. "And I want check-ins while you're gone. Brief texts confirming you're safe, even if you can't share details. Deal?" Sebastian kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for calling me out instead of just accepting it. I need that accountability." The case went smoothly, and Sebastian kept his promise about regular check-ins. When he returned, he brought Lauren flowers and spent an entire evening just listening to her talk about the showings and deals she'd handled while he was gone. "I missed you," he admitted that night as they got ready for bed. 2 weeks felt like forever. It did. Lauren turned to face him. "But I'm proud of you for handling the case successfully. And grateful you came home safe." "Always." Sebastian pulled her close. "You're my home, Lauren. Whatever work I do, whoever I protect, it's all secondary to coming back to you." They fell into bed together, reconnecting physically and emotionally after the separation, both grateful for the partnership they'd built that could withstand disagreements and distance. 2 years later, Lauren stood in the penthouse living room, looking out at the city lights, and marveled at how much had changed since that first property showing where she'd met Sebastian. She was now a partner at her real estate firm, specializing in luxury properties and mentoring newer agents. Her reputation had grown significantly, partly due to skill and partly due to the connections Sebastian's work had provided. She was successful and fulfilled professionally in ways she'd worked years to achieve. Sebastian's business had evolved too. He'd shifted focus from high-risk protective details to consulting and training others in security protocols. It was less dangerous, but equally meaningful work, allowing him to help more people while maintaining better work-life balance. And their marriage had deepened in ways Lauren couldn't have predicted. They'd navigated challenges and celebrated successes, supported each other through difficulties and shared joys, built a life that was rich and meaningful and exactly what they both wanted. "What are you thinking about?" Sebastian asked, appearing behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. "Just reflecting on how far we've come." Lauren leaned back against him. "Remember that first showing? When you were more interested in me than the apartment? Best real estate decision I ever made." Sebastian rested his chin on her shoulder. "Though technically I was interested in both you and the apartment. I just prioritized correctly." "You definitely did." Lauren turned in his arms. "Thank you for that, by the way. For seeing something in me worth pursuing. For taking the risk of mixing business with personal interest. For being exactly who I needed even though I didn't know I needed it. Thank you for taking the risk too. For breaking your professional rules. for giving me a chance despite my mysterious approach, for building this life with me, even when my work complicated things. Sebastian cupped her face gently. I love you. More now than when we started, which I didn't think was possible. I love you too. Lauren kissed him softly. Here's to property showings that change your life and buyers who know what they really want. And to real estate agents brave enough to take chances on mysterious clients. Sebastian smiled. Should we celebrate our upcoming anniversary with a trip? Maybe back to Italy? That sounds perfect. Book it. Lauren settled against him, both of them looking out at the city that had brought them together. Though, honestly, I'm happy just being here with you. We could stay home and it would still be perfect. Home is wherever you are, Sebastian said simply. Whether that's this penthouse or traveling or anywhere else. As long as we're together, that's all that matters. They stood like that for a long time, wrapped around each other, grateful for property showings that became something more, for professional relationships that transformed into personal partnerships, for taking risks that paid off in ways neither could have predicted. Sometimes the most important transactions weren't about real estate at all. Sometimes they were about finding the person who made anywhere feel like home. And sometimes, a mysterious buyer watching you instead of the property was exactly what you needed, even if you didn't know it at the time.